Hi there, my name is Jake. I'm here to talk to you about duct tape and educational technology and how in my silly mind I've got this metaphor where the two of them work together, duct tape and educational technology. And they form a metaphor, a mindset, I actually say, that I think can benefit you in your learning environments right now, today. As you go through the sessions that you're going to experience during this Brainstorm conference, you could put this educational duct tape mindset in play to help you decide what different things to implement in your learning environments and in the future when we get back to our classrooms, in your classrooms. As I said, my name is Jake. Jake Miller is my name. I'm the host of the Educational Duct Tape podcast. You can find me on social media at Jake Miller Tech and find my work online at jakemiller.net. Now, you can also find the slides to this presentation at jakemiller.net/EDT as in educational duct tape, pres as in presentation, 20 as in the number after 19. Now, this not only gives you access to these slides that I'm going to go through, but it gives you access to some giveaways I do every time I do this presentation. So even though we're not in person together learning at a conference like I would love to be, I'm still going to do some giveaways here. So I'm going to give away two different prizes. So the first prize is a sticker. These are coveted stickers, you guys. You get to choose which sticker you get depending on how you pronounce the animated file type GIF, now you know how I pronounce it, the .gif file type. You'll select either the correct sticker if you believe it's pronounced GIF, like gift, or the incorrect sticker if you believe it's pronounced like, it's hard for me to even say it, like the peanut butter, right? So you'll pick one of those if you're this winner, and I'll send you one of those in the mail. I promise I'll disinfect the stickers before I send them to you. Now, the other thing you could win is registration in an online learning opportunity that I do called GIF a Day. Now, the way GIF a Day works is the people who pay to register or win registration in it receive a GIF in their email every morning to learn a new skill. Currently, I do this on Google Sheets. So if you participate, you'll get a new GIF every morning explaining a different Google Sheets skill to you, and one person will win registration in that. So to sign up for those giveaways, you go to jakemiller.net/EDTPres20, which will give you access to these slides as well as signing up for these giveaways. Okay, so what is educational duct tape and why is Jake here to talk to me about educational duct tape? Well, to tell you about educational duct tape, I need to go a little bit back to kind of my origin story of educational duct tape, and it really all starts with Edu Gifts. Okay, now where these EDU gifts come from, we're going to get to, but the thing that you need to understand now is in order for me to get to the position where I knew Patrick, who invited me to present in this conference, I had to start with the EDU gifts. These are the things that earned me the invitations to do things like this conference, these EDU gifts or edu gifts. Well, we all know what GIFs are, animated GIFs. They're small file sizes that are kind of like an image, but kind of like a video, right? They play in a loop. They're normally short. They don't involve audio. And we're familiar with fun ones like this one. This baby is so surprised me in my presentation right now. But we're familiar with fun ones like this one, or ones from The Office, or maybe from a sporting event, or from our favorite movie, or things like that we send to our friends. Many of you have probably already sent out multiple GIFs in emails or texts or tweets so far today. Now, I don't create GIFs like this one. I create edu GIFs, meaning I use the GIF file type to give instructions on how to do something. So here's one that I created a while back about how to do translations in Google Sheets. I'll let you watch it. And as you can see, it loops over and over again so that people, if they missed it the first time through, they could see what happened the next time through. Now, I made this one when we tried to find a way to support a new student in our school who spoke little to no English. She had an ELL tutor who was supporting her in learning to assimilate to the school, but her teachers needed a way to help her understand classroom vocabulary. So they created vocabulary lists using this formula in Google Sheets. Now, it's not 100% perfect, but they were able to go through and do like minor tweaks here and there where needed when she found that words didn't quite make sense to her. Now, when we saw this, I was so excited about it, I wanted to share it out there to other educators, and a GIF is how I shared it. And this one went particularly viral and had tens of thousands of views and retweets in countries all around the world because of the small bite-sized information it provided to them. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that you should start making GIFs for your classroom, or you should start using GIFs in your classroom or in your online lessons. I'm also not telling you this to brag about the fact that this tweet had 86,000 retweets in Malaysia, because it doesn't really matter. That doesn't really impress people. Like, hey guys, I'm pretty big in Malaysia. Like, that's not really going to get me anything, right? It's not going to impress anybody all that much. What I'm telling you about is because these EDU gifts showed me a way that we could approach educational technology in the classroom. And that is what I think you can apply to your lessons. So let's talk about where they actually came from. So I started my career as a math teacher. And in my second position, I was an 8th grade math teacher in the school district that my kids still go to and my wife still works in. And I absolutely loved that job. I thought I was going to work in that position for 35 years until retirement and be happy the whole time, because I loved the content, I loved the age of students, I loved the community I was in, and I really enjoyed what I did as an 8th grade math teacher. But what I found over the next few years is that I like trying out new things. So I said, well, I'm going to try 4th grade math, and I'm going to try 8th grade science, and I'm going to try 8th grade STEM. And during those years, I also found that I got more and more excited about educational technology. I was excited about what it could do for my instruction, and then I was excited about what it could do for the way my students displayed their learning, and then I started sharing it with my team of teachers, and then with teachers across my school building, and then teachers across my entire school district, and then even that wasn't enough, and I wanted to spread the word of this educational technology even further. I wanted to impact teachers around the world so that I could indirectly impact thousands and thousands of students by supporting them, their teachers directly, them indirectly, by supporting their teachers through this educational technology. So I said, how can I share these tips with more educators? So I had a goal, and I needed to identify some tools that I could use with that goal. So my goal was sharing EdTech with more educators. So I thought about what tools I had available to me, and those tools were Camtasia, a screen recording program that I'm actually using to record this very video, YouTube, obviously I can host the videos there for people to watch, my website so that people could find all of my videos, and my Twitter account so that I could share these videos out there and have more people see these videos. Okay, so late at night, after my wife and I had put our 3 kids to bed, after we had cleaned the kitchen and made it look like nobody lived there that day, and after we had packed lunches for the next day, I would come downstairs to this very basement office, which isn't much of an office. If I were to pan the camera over that way, you would see my kids' Lego table, and if I would pan it over that way, you would see collections of already built Legos. I have a nice Lego gymnastics set right up here overlooking me while I do my work. So I call it my office. My kids call it the Lego room. Regardless, I would come down here late at night with my dress shirt on from that day of work and pajama pants, because you can't see what kind of pants I'm wearing right now. And I'd have a beer just off screen because it was 11 o'clock at night and I was working hard and I deserved a beer. Okay, lay off. So it'd be off screen so you couldn't see it in the video. And I would record a video just like this one right here that you see on the screen of some specific technology tip, some EdTech tip that I thought teachers would benefit from. So in this particular video, you could see I was sharing a keyboard shortcut on Chromebooks that makes it so that you can quickly split your window between one screen on the left and one screen on the right. And I thought it was a really quick hack that I felt like all educators should know about. So I wanted to record a video to get it out there for them to see it. Okay, so I would record these videos. And then what I would post them on, I would edit them on Camtasia, I would post them on YouTube, I'd put them on my website, and then I would share them out there on Twitter for people to discover. And I would stay away from looking at the video for a while. I didn't want to worry too much about how many views I was getting. But about a week later, I would finally go back and look at the views, and I would just discover stuff like what we see right down here, which is 7 views, 8 views, maybe 9 views if I was lucky. And the sad thing about those number of views is 2 of them were me making sure the video worked. One of them was my mom, who's a retired educator and doesn't give a crap about Chromebooks, but is checking up on me because she loves me. So my videos were really getting like 4 or 5 views in a week. So why was it that I was creating these, what I thought were quality videos about what I felt were important tips for educators, and yet educators were not watching them? Now, it wasn't like they were going to them and going like, Jake, this is a horrible video, I'm going to close it. They just weren't even going to the video. What was happening there? What I realized was I had too many hurdles in place for my videos. The teachers had to be following me on Twitter or be visiting my website. The teachers had to believe that the video was going to be worth their time. They had to trust me that I was making good content. They had to trust that it was going to be worth 5 or 6 minutes of their time to watch the video. They had to be in a place where they could plug in headphones or have the volume on. There were too many hurdles to get them to even click on the video. So I had to figure out, how do I get rid of all these hurdles? So I found the idea while I was sitting in my doctor's office waiting room. I was sitting there waiting to get called back for my appointment, and I decided to start looking through Facebook on my phone to see what all my friends were up to. And I'm scrolling down through Facebook looking at pictures of friends' kids and vacations that kids and friends had been on and things like that. And then it happened. Tater tot casserole happened. I found myself sitting and watching an entire video recipe of how to make tater tot casserole. Now, the sad thing here is I don't do much of the cooking in our house. My wife does most of it. And when I do the cooking, she either gives me the recipe or tells me exactly what to do while I'm making it. So I don't need to know how to make tater tot casserole. Worse yet, she already makes tater tot casserole, and it's delicious. So she doesn't even need the recipe. And in this recipe, they put frozen peas into the, look at that. Frozen peas into the tater tot casserole. Who would do that? Way to ruin a good dish with some frozen peas in there. So this video was totally worthless to me. So why did I watch the whole thing? I just started watching it again right now. What is it about this video that makes me watch it even though it has no value to me? Well, what I realized about this video is a couple things. Number one, it auto-played. Number two, it moved quickly. Number three, it was well made. And number four, it didn't require audio. And number five, it was short and brief, right? So I realized this is what my educational technology tips needed. They needed to be like this tater tot casserole. Okay. And that's when I started making what I call Edu Gifts or EDU Gifts. I realized that Camtasia software that I had been using all along to make my screencasts, I realized that it also could export the video files as GIFs. Now, I had never done it before because I had never had a reason to do it before, but now I felt like I had a reason. So I would take these screencasts that I was making at night, I'd come down, and instead of having my beer off screen, I didn't need to have it off screen because I wasn't recording my face anymore. I didn't even need to have a dress shirt on. I could have my hoodie on because nobody saw me in the GIFs. I was just recording these GIFs and putting them out there. And what I found is instead of 7 or 8 views in a week, I was getting 7 or 8 views in the first hour or something because they were auto-playing on Twitter. Okay. Now, this didn't completely remove all of the hurdles because some of you have never seen one of them, right? But it really drastically lowered the height of the hurdles. And what I realized in my use of Camtasia to make these GIFs is that educational technology I was using, that technology that I used to make that GIF was at its best in this situation. It was the most useful in this situation because I was using it as a tool to solve a problem or meet a goal. I had used it to take these giant hurdles that were keeping educators from watching my videos to reduce the size of those videos. Now, again, the hurdle is still there because not everybody's seeing them, but I made it much easier to get over these hurdles by using that technology as a tool. Now, how did this become educational duct tape? Well, that's a different story. That all starts on one of those evenings while my wife and I were doing that cleaning in the kitchen and that lunch packing, and she showed me on her phone a picture of this bounce house. And she said, "Jake, I want to get this bounce house for the kids for Christmas." And I said, "What? Are you crazy? That thing has an 8-foot diameter. It'll take up our whole living room. We don't have space in our living room to walk through without stepping on toys anyhow. Why would we do that?" And she said, "Because it would make the kids happy." And I realized very quickly there, I probably didn't have a choice in the first place, but I realized when she said that, yeah, she won. She's right. It would make the kids happy, and so we should get this for the kids. So she ordered it that night. It arrived on December 24th, delivered by the man in the big red suit, but it was not inflated. Right? And that began the love-hate relationship between me and this bounce house because I was the one who had to inflate it. Okay. And I loved how happy my kids were the next day when they saw it and started playing in it. But I hated that 2 days later when they were over it, I was the guy who had to deflate it and put it away because it was in everybody's way. I was the guy who had open all the holes. I was the guy who had to push it down to the floor. I was the guy who had to roll around on top of it like a 6'4" rolling pin to push all the air out of it. I was the guy who had to fold it up, and I was the guy who had to put it in the basement. Now, I also loved that a month later when my kids were feeling restless on a snow day, I could pull this back out, inflate it, and the kids had a blast in it for a couple hours. I did love that, and I loved how much they enjoyed it, but I hated that a couple days later it was in their way once again, and I was the guy who had to, again, roll around on it like a 6'4" rolling pin so that I could put it away in the basement. Okay. I loved how happy it made my kids. I hated how much work it took for me. Until one day when I was inflating it for the kids and I heard this sound, and I went into Mr. Burns mode from The Simpsons. You know Mr. Burns? I went, yes, excellent. Because I knew that I could finally throw the damn thing away. And then I saw my kids standing in the corner, and they were giggling adorably about the sound. And I looked at them and I went, aw, I can't throw it away. Look at them. They're adorable. They love this thing. They're so cute. I've got to fix it for them. Okay? So what do you think I used to fix that bounce house? Go ahead and guess. Did somebody say pepperoni? That's a really weird answer. No, I used duct tape to patch the bounce house. Duct tape ended up being the perfect tool for patching this bounce house and making it so my kids could play in it. It worked great, okay? Now, it's important to note that I wasn't planning on using duct tape that day. I wasn't even planning on using the bounce house that day. They were both tools that I used to meet goals that I had, and my goals were for my kids to have a fun day, right? That's all I was trying to achieve. The bounce house was the first thing that tried to help me achieve that, and the duct tape became another tool that assisted in that measure, and it worked. My kids had a blast that day, and the duct tape worked. The bounce house didn't deflate that day until I was ready to deflate it, right? And this helped me start to see something about educational technology. I started to realize that this is how educational technology works as well. But it wasn't quite educational duct tape just yet for me. That didn't happen until I was at a technology conference, kind of like this one, except in person. And I realized that there were three main types of people at these educational technology conferences. There was the person who's like, ooh, Flipgrid, I'm going to use that in my class tomorrow. It's going to be great. And you're like, great, what are you teaching that you're going to use Flipgrid with? And they're like, I don't know, but I'm going to use Flipgrid. And you're like, listen, I love your excitement for these tools. I love your innovative attitude and your willingness to try out new things, but maybe think about your pedagogy and your teaching standards first, right? And then there's the people that are like, oh man, there's Flipgrid and there's Pear Deck and there's Nearpod and there's Scratch and there's HyperDocs. There's too many tools to learn. And we understand how this person feels, right? We're like, Phyllis, we get it. That's a lot of different educational technology tools, and you can't keep up with them all. I can't keep up with them all, and educational technology is my jam, but I can't possibly keep up with all of the tools. And then there's the third type of person at the educational technology conference who strolls through and thinks, oh, Flipgrid, I could use that when I need to hear from each student. Oh, Pear Deck, I could use that when I'm teaching a lesson and need some formative assessment as I go. Oh, Scratch, I can use that when I want my kids to create their own animations to show how a project or a topic works. This person is seeing the educational technology things as tools that he can use when he has a specific lesson or need that they will help him meet. He doesn't worry with learning exactly how to use Flipgrid or exactly how to use Pear Deck or exactly how to use Scratch. He knows that if he knows what it's for, then when it's time to use them, then he can learn how to do it. Think about it. It's on YouTube, right? And this is when this all came together for me. This is when the tater tot casserole and the bounce house and the three types of people at a tech conference came together to form the educational duct tape mindset for me. It's when I realized that educational technology is at its most useful when it's not the goal of the lesson, but a tool used to solve a problem or meet a goal. Similarly, using duct tape is never one's goal, but is an incredibly useful tool when solving problems or helping you meet a goal. Think through all of my situations here. I didn't need or want or think I should create gifts, but they became a tool that helped me solve the problem I had, which was to get more educational technology out there, ideas out there to educators. I didn't need or want to use duct tape that day, right? But it became a great tool for solving the problem that I was having with that bounce house. So the educational technology is just tools. So as you're going through the sessions that you're going to view today and over the next few days, think about these educational technologies as tools. Some of them you'll throw in your toolbox and not use anytime soon. Others of them will immediately meet needs and goals and problems that you have, and you can put it in place right now. But if you think about it from that mindset of these things are just tools that I use to meet goals, you'll be able to prioritize which ones are learn nows and which ones are remember but learn laters, or maybe learn nevers, because maybe they don't meet a goal or problem or need that you have in your classroom. So after I thought about this educational duct tape mindset, I created a podcast around the mindset. And in this podcast, I bring on different guests and we talk about teacher problems or teacher questions. How can I formatively assess my students? How can I support learners with special needs? How can I get my students to create things, video projects? How can I do this? How can I do that? Things that teachers might ask. And the guests and I come up with suggestions about different educational technologies that they could use to solve these problems or meet these goals. A couple of my favorite things about this process is that the guest and I almost always have different suggestions for tools they could use. And I'm not the right one and they're not the right one. We're both right, because there are lots of different educational technologies. There's no one right answer for almost any problem that you could have or goal that you could have as an educator. Oftentimes, the guest and I both have multiple different answers, and that's important to understand, that if somebody tells you this is the educational technology tool that you should use for this, they're wrong. That's the one that they should use for it. You should pick the one that best meets your goal, your problem, your needs, and best fits your style as an educator, your content, your students, their age, their style of learning, their modes of learning, the way they work. Every classroom, every teacher, every content, every group of students is different. And so understanding directly exactly what you're trying to achieve helps you choose the tool that's right for you. And it might not be right for the teacher in the classroom next to you, right? Different educators and different situations need different tools. Okay, so then how do we choose which technologies to use? Because if you're going to watch a bunch of videos today, you're going to discover a whole lot of different educational technologies that you might consider putting to work in your classroom. And you can't do them all. Actually, I know from experience going to these educational technology conferences or viewing these online educational technology conferences, oftentimes we use little to none of what the educational technology presenters share with us. We go back to our classrooms or to our remote learning environments. We get overwhelmed by the work that we have to do right now. We can't make a decision on which tools to put into work in our classroom, and we end up choosing none. We know it happens. It's probably happened to you. I know for sure it's happened to me. And this is because of something called the paradox of choice. Now, the paradox of choice comes from one of my favorite TED Talks. It's by a guy named Barry Schwartz. I recommend viewing the whole thing. But my favorite part of it is when he says, all of this choice produces paralysis rather than liberation. With so many options to choose from, people find it very difficult to choose at all. All of this choice produces paralysis rather than liberation. With so many options to choose from, people find it very difficult to choose at all. And this is what happens at educational technology conferences, whether they be online and virtual or in person. We get so many different options that it becomes very difficult to choose at all, and we end up with paralysis rather than liberation. We end up using none of it. And that happens to a lot of us. So how do we avoid that paralysis? Well, I think the best way to avoid it is to narrow down our choices, okay? The best way to narrow down our choices is to think specifically about exactly what we need. Now, Barry Schwartz talks about in this TED Talk how one company that he studied found that for every 10 additional mutual funds that they offered to their employees, they got a drop in 2% participation, meaning the more mutual funds they gave their employees to choose from, rather than their employees being excited about the options, they became less likely to even participate at all. Like they're like, I'll keep my money in a box underneath my bed because I just can't choose which one to do. So the best thing that I think that company could do is narrow it down to just a few choices. This is a fund that's good for if you're retiring within the next 5 years. This one's good for if you're retiring within the next 15. This one's good if you're in the next 25, and this one's good if you're just starting out and you expect to be in this position for 35 years. Here's your 4 mutual funds. Select the one that best meets your needs, and that's the one you're going to select. I bet that would increase their participation. Now, how can we leverage that with educational technology? Well, we leverage it by thinking about that educational duct tape mindset. And it said, educational technology is at its most useful when it's not the goal of the lesson, but a tool used to solve a problem or meet a goal. Just like that duct tape. So if we think specifically about what our problem or goal is, just like thinking about when we plan to retire, it becomes easy to select that educational technology tool, or easier, just like it becomes easier to select that mutual fund that we might use. Now, I want to share with you a story to illustrate how this works. So I used to be a STEM teacher, and in my STEM class, everything was student-paced. So the kids got to the activities and watched videos of me explaining what they were going to do because they were all getting to them at different times. So in the class, we used to build basswood bridges. These bridges were built out of wood. The kids had to cut the wood with X-Acto knives and glue it together. We would test their bridges to see how much weight they held. Now, before I went to student-paced, I was able to give the entire class instructions on exactly how they were going to build it, how to use an X-Acto knife. Imagine 8th graders with X-Acto knives, right? I had to go through instructions, safety instructions on how to use it. Now, when I switched to student-paced, I had to do this via video. So in the video I recorded, here's a picture of me recording that video. I'd have to go through exactly how to use that X-Acto knife, how to plan their bridge out, how to design their bridge, the regulations for the shape of their bridge and everything, all in this 15-minute, 39-second long video. Now, I can remember one day a kid coming up to me and saying, "Mr. Miller, I'm ready for my wood for my basswood bridge." And I said to him, "Great, show me your plan for what your bridge is going to look like." And he said, "What plan?" I said, the plan that I described you making in the video." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't see a part about a plan." And I said, "Well, it's in the video that you watched. How could you not have seen the part about making a plan if it's part of the video? That was what you have to do. It said in the video, you'll make this plan, and then you'll show it to me. I'll check it. I'll confirm your measurements are right, and then I will give you the wood and the X-Acto knife." And he's like, "Oh, I don't remember that part of the video." So clearly he had not watched the video. So I realized the problem that I had. I was creating these videos, and yet my students were unlikely to actually watch them. Now, there's not a whole lot I could do to force the kids to watch the videos, and there's nothing I could change about the kids to make it. So I needed to come up with a reaction on my own end that would help make sure these videos got watched, right? So I asked this kid a question. I said, "What did I look like in the video?" Now, as you could tell right now when you're looking at this picture, I had glasses when I recorded that video. Okay, that was the semester before I had the student in my class, and I no longer needed glasses because I had LASIK eye surgery. When I had this kid in my class, I also did not have a beard. Yet in this video, as you could see, I did have a beard. So I said to the kid, "What did I look like in this video?" Expecting him to say, if he had watched the video, "You had on glasses and a beard, unlike now." But he hadn't watched the video, so he couldn't say that. One of his classmates, his friends, were in the background going, "Glasses, beard, glasses, beard." But he didn't hear that kid. And he said to me, no, I'm not making this up. He said to me, "You looked handsome." Can't make it up. It was true. I could picture this kid saying it. I remember this event. And, well, maybe he was right. Maybe I did look handsome. I don't know. I don't know. Looked a little bit funny there. My hair was funny. That swoopy thing I was doing with my hair then. I don't know. So I said to the kid, "Well, thank you very much, but no, did I look any different in the video?" And he said, "No, you pretty much look like yourself." And I said, "Did I have on glasses in the video?" And he said, "Mr. Miller, you don't wear glasses." And I said, "In the video I did." And I said, "Did I have a beard in the video?" And he said, "Mr. Miller, you don't have a beard." And I said, "In the video I did." So clearly he had not watched it. So we both had things to do. He needed to go watch a video, and I needed to find a way to make sure my kids were making the video. And what I started using was a tool called EdPuzzle. And EdPuzzle let me take my videos and embed questions at certain locations in the video, and the kids would have to answer those questions while they went through it. And then I got data on the end that showed me, had the kids watched it, how much of it had they watched, how many things did they get right. So then I could say to that kid, "Yeah, I see you watched the video. Yes, you're ready for the wood for your basswood bridge." But I could also say, which I didn't even think about, "Oh, I see that you missed this question and this question and this question and this question. Let's talk about those things before you start building your bridge." So it didn't just become a compliance tool, which is what I really thought it was going to be, which I'm a little bit ashamed of, but it also became a formative assessment tool because I was able to talk to those kids about misconceptions they had throughout the process. Now, I was proud of myself before from making these videos. But I realized I had a new problem, and that's that the kids weren't watching the videos. So now I needed a new solution, which was to add them into EdPuzzle to ask the questions that I had for the kids to confirm that they were watching them. Okay. It's important to understand that when I made these changes, it was in the interest of getting better. And that reminds me of this Dr. Maya Angelou quote. And she said, do the best you can do until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. It's important to understand that I wasn't doing the wrong thing by recording those videos. I was doing the best I could. And then when I knew that I needed to find a way to make sure the kids were watching them, then I knew better. And so then I did better. So I went from teaching this lesson to all the students at the same time, which I'm proud of what I did then. And then I knew better. I knew I should student pace my work, so I went to recording as a video. That was doing better. But then I knew that the kids weren't watching it, so I needed to add them into Edpuzzle, and that was doing even better. Do the best you can until you know better, and then when you know better, do better. So as you go through these sessions and these videos over the next few days, think about it from that view. Do these sessions meet some problems or goals or needs that you have? Do these sessions make you realize things that you now know better? And if they do, then it's time to prioritize which steps to take to do better. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for your time. Again, my name is Jake Miller. If you try out anything that you learned during this session, I'd love to hear about it. There's my contact information. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'd love to answer them and support you in any way I can. And I will be sending out an email about a week or so after all the sessions finish airing to give away the prizes that everybody won. If you haven't signed up to win one of those prizes, that link was back at the beginning of the video. Again, thank you for what you're doing for students. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for being a lifelong learner and continuing to work hard to get better and do better for your students.